Hey guys, you recognize me. It's one half of the greatest YouTube team on the planet. It's Jason Knupp. And tonight, right now, I am going to do the much anticipated 2018 Toy Room Tour. Who is it much anticipated by? Me. I have been wanting to do this Toy Room Tour for probably about 8 months. But since that guy, Christopher Seaver, joined the crew, joined the show, my room has been torn to shreds. And over the past 8 months or so, I've been putting it back together. So now is the time for me to do the 2018 Toy Room Tour. A while back in some of my videos, I talked about my interest in having an 80s stuff shelf. Obviously, we got toys to show you. But I wanted to do... I started finding some things that were not toy related. They were just 80s related. And they were stuff. It's stuff. This is my 80s stuff shelf. And so take a look at some of these things. We've got the classic boom box. Of course, not your Run DMC style boom box. We've got the thinner boom box version that you and all of your sisters had. Mm-hmm. We've got the classic VCR. And to go along with the classic VCR, we've got the VCR Plus. Now, what was VCR Plus? Well, revolutionary back in the day, if you ask me. You connected it to your VCR, and in the TV guide, the national TV guide, was a 4-digit code. A 4-digit code next to the show. And you would simply type in that 4-digit code, and it would record the television show associated with that 4-digit code. So somehow TV Guide and VCR Plus had to get together and make sure that these codes were legit. You plug it in, you type the numbers in, you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning, and your show doesn't exist because it probably failed 85% of the time. We're still talking about VHS stuff. Got to have that classic video cassette rewinder in the box, because your dad would always tell you that you couldn't rewind tapes in the VCR because it would ruin it. So you had to take the tapes out, put them in this special rewinding box so that you didn't ruin the VCR. We're still talking about well, actually, we're talking about cassettes now. How about this classic wood-grained 80s cassette tape cabinet? You need to store your cassettes, so you may as well put them in a wood-grained cassette tape cabinet. Fans of the show, the early show, some of my early episodes, remember when I picked up this Garfield telephone from a toy show, a local toy show, for all of $30. And when I pulled this thing out of the box, I was very pleased to see that it was still in plastic, still tight in styrofoam, complete with, instructions, all that stuff, basically never used. Again, fans of some of my early episodes remember that beautiful General Electric wood-grained alarm clock. Digital? No, not digital. Those little flaps turned on their own, folks. Those are paper flaps in there. Plastic flaps, they would turn on their own. Coming down, we've got a little collection I'm very proud of. Nowhere near the size that I want it to be, but this is my TV Guide collection. I'd like to get... if I really wanted to get crazy with this, I'd like to get every single TV guide from 1980 to 1989. I don't know. Got your classic Pepsi. I don't know, what is this, like a 64-ounce mug?
That's for serious drinkers.
That's some serious Pepsi drinking right there, folks. Now,
that one is just...
this little beaut... This is the, 84, 85 or so, the McDonald's promotion, Mac Tonight. When the clock strikes 6:30, hey. Mac Tonight was a little character promo, McDonald's, and this is simply a little sippy cup, collectible item cup. I don't know, Mac Tonight, McDonald's. What screams 1980s joy more than McDonald's? I was at a church flea market, and this was 10 cents. Okay, now, what the heck are these things? Why are these special to me? Well, the Turtles one is just special because it's Turtles. We'll put it back. This thing here.
The Big Shot.
Okay. So, my sisters and I we were in walking distance of an A+. And when you're 12 years old, nothing is more important than having your own gigantic soda that you can carry around with you while you're playing with your friends. And for $1 or $1.50, you could go to A+, you could fill up your gigantic Big Shot slurpy sippy cup mug water bottle, and you can go back and get refills for like 50 cents, right? But this design, this is the one that I remember. This is the one that I had, the A+ Big Shot. This is the exact one that I had. And when I saw this, I don't know where it was, garage sale, flea market for like 50 cents. The memories came rushing back. That's why I have a water bottle in my collection.
That's classic.
This is kind of near and dear to my heart as well. This
I had one of these.
these were in
So
everybody's
awesome.
stocking stuffer.
Yeah.
This and the another sort of grail that I'm looking for is a Lifesavers book. So back at Christmas time, packages of Lifesavers would come in a book. And they were like Christmas designs and Christmas themes, and you'd get one in your stocking every year. But you'd also get one of these in your stocking every year. This piggy bank, unpunched piggy bank that you can see. This piggy bank was full of Tootsie Rolls. Well, forget it. It was full of Tootsie Rolls. Once you eat all the Tootsie Rolls, you put your pennies in there so you can buy some more Tootsie Rolls. The collection is, the room is sort of in a transitional stage as well. These are not 80s stuffs. These don't necessarily belong on the shelf, but I didn't have any place to put them. So you got your gigantic talking wisecracking elf, and you got your talking Pee Wee Herman figure. Eventually they'll be moved somewhere else. Eventually more 80s stuff will be on this shelf. But for now, these guys are sitting right here. And sitting right next to me is another grail that I didn't mention. This was something that I've probably wanted since I began the collection. This is a Pogo Ball. And we talked about this on the Christmas episode, the Christmas pickups. I got this Christmas of 2017. Pogo Ball. So basically, Pogo stick without the stick. I'm not going to do it because my gigantic self would crush this in a million pieces. But you basically stood on it and you bounced up and down on this rubber ball. All kinds of different designs, all kinds of different artwork. This is sort of like a space-themed or whatever Pogo Ball. Pogo Ball, no 80s toy collection is complete without a Pogo Ball. We're not going to spend a lot of time here because we've already spent a lot of time here. I guess this is my favorite wall in the world. Of all the walls in the world, this one's my favorite. This is the carded LJN library, I guess. Is it a complete collection? No. I'm probably, there's a handful of carded figures that I need.
I don't think you want that Roddy Piper, so you might as well just turn your head and maybe it won't be there.
Actually, you don't want this one. This one is kind of beat to shreds. The problem with these figures, guys, is that these are heavy figures. So over time, depending on how they're stored, the weight of the figure pulls against the bubble and it comes unglued. This figure was never taken out of the package. It was never loosed. But over time, it's just peeled away from the backing. But yeah, this is... this is pretty much my prized wall.
Crumb weeds.
This might be about a $5,000 or $6,000 wall. I don't know. We got a lot of cool stuff in here. We got a lot of we got some autograph figures. I met some of these guys, had them sign the figure. That was kind of a I was into that for a particular time. Any guy that I met that I had a figure of, I'd get him to sign. I'm kind of over that now.
It's pretty legendary.
It is legendary, and so we've got the figures. We've already talked about the the offshoots of the figures. So we've got the thumb wrestlers. Under the same LJN line, we've got the bendy figures, just smaller versions of the 8-inch figures, and certainly more bendable. The whole idea with these original figures, in fact, I don't know if it's on a later, oh, it is, twist 'em and turn 'em. You weren't doing any twisting or turning with these LJN figures. So I don't know where the twist 'em,
you
turn 'em.
could try.
You could try. One of the, you could do that. That's about the twisting and turning that we'd get. So I don't know why they marketed twist 'em and turn 'em. And I remember some early packaging was twist 'em and turn 'em into all kinds of wrestling holds. That never happened. But they did get us a little closer to that with the bendy figures. So these figures you could actually twist and turn into a few different wrestling holds. Offshoot of those LJN, bendies, regular figures, thumb wrestlers, we get the stretch wrestlers. So think Stretch Armstrong in 1985, or think a wrestling version of Stretch Armstrong. Basically a gooey rubber figure with some kind of white powder inside that you could, these guys you could really twist and stretch, and as a true player of wrestling figures, these were kind of a joke. What are you going to do with these? But they're beautiful and you must have them. So, at one point in time in my collection, I collected wrestling belts. And there's two ways of collecting wrestling belts. Either you're going to contact a belt maker, Reggie Parks, Dave Milliken, and so these are the guys that literally made the wrestling belts that you'll see on TV. So you'll contact one of those guys and you'll ask them to make you a belt. And you'll pay them $3,000, and a year from now, you'll get your belt in the mail. And it'll be the exact belt. It'll be a legitimate Reggie Parks world title. Or you'll go get yourself a replica, and it'll be much thinner plates, much synthetic leather, and much less price, which I'm fine with. So I love this belt because this captures an era of wrestling where I began to fall in love with the product. And of course, that I was a WWF fan, and surprisingly, this is the NWA World Title. So when I was watching wrestling and falling in love with the Nature Boy Ric Flair on Saturday nights, WTBS, this is the belt that he carried around with him. So I'm just, it's a replica. It's certainly not a $3,000 belt. If I sold this today, I'd probably get $300 for it. Very thin plates. The real plates are probably 2 times the thickness of this. This is certainly synthetic leather. The real belts have real leather. And obviously, and they're $3,000. So for $300, I've got one that kind of looks like it, and I'm good with that. I've showed you in the wrestling collection video, not only single carded LJN figures, but of course they came out with the tag team 2-packs, and I've got a few of those. The British Bulldogs, of course. Each tag team came with tag team titles, and a poster. So these are, I don't know. I haven't needed to price these in so long. This set right here might be $400. I don't know. So I've got a couple of those. I've got the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkoff tag team set. Originally Toys R Us, no price on that one. I think the tag team sets back in the day their original price was probably about $16. The other one I have is the Hulk Hogan Hillbilly Gym set. Now, originally this was $16.99 at a store called Toys and Things. But then as it went on clearance, it was $6, guys. $6.
You didn't pay $6.
I certainly didn't. I paid $4.
No, you paid $1.
Yeah, it was right next
at a flea market.
It was right next to Fireball Island at that garage sale. If you watched some of my early videos, I told the story about how this was found. Again, back in the day, guys, we had no idea that stuff existed. There was no internet. There were no spoilers. Even some of this stuff wasn't even in a catalog. We found this stuff when we happened to get a ride by our parents to Toys R Us. I just happened to be, I remember spending the night at my grandmother's house before I started living with them, spending the night at their house, and every night I spent the night at their house, they'd take me to the toy store and I'd get something. My grandma took me to Toys R Us. I had 2 or 3 wrestlers in my hand. I turned the corner, and on the end cap was a whole stack of these steel cage sets. If you can peel a kid off the floor or off the ceiling of Toys R Us, that was me when I found these. When I saw this for the first time, freaked out. You know why I got this that same day I got those 2 figures? Because this was $6.99. This retailed for $6.99 back in 1986. Got some fun cups. You've seen these in other videos. These are from 7-Eleven. Again, the big gulp. But back in 1985, you could get, WWF and 7-Eleven teamed up. Got your big gulp cups with your superstars of the World Wrestling Federation. Wendy Richter. There's your man, Roddy Piper.
Now that I know that it exists, I think I need to get...
We got Hot Rod, the Iron Sheik. We got Hot Rod, Roddy Piper. We got the Iron Sheik. We got the JYD.
Oh, not the trash fit, okay?
JYD was actually sued back in 1985 by the Trashfield Cat for gimmick infringement. And he lost. The Junkyard Dog lost that battle. Probably one of the greatest items in the world is the WWF Sling 'em Fling 'em wrestling ring. I can't pull it out. It'll all fall down. But this was the greatest accessory that ever entered my young life. Getting to play with these wrestling figures inside of a ring. Greatest toy accessory of all time, in my opinion. Forget the Terradrome. Okay.
Technodrome.
Forget the Technodrome. Forget the aircraft carrier. Forget the Rankin and Bass stuff. This was by far the greatest accessory of all time. We showed those Bendy figures. Well, can't have a Bendy figure without a Bendy ring and cage. So this is the cage match challenge. I talked about that Hulkamania workout set in an upcoming video. But here's the Hulkamania power hand grip set. Me and Man Hammer have those same red grips. I don't know, you might have seen him in a previous video. These are the first 5 figures that were released. Yeah, there's some discussion that there were 9, maybe 10 figures. I don't care about that. These are the first 5 figures that were released in 1985. Hulk Hogan, Big John Studd, Andre the Giant, Jimmy Snuka, and the Iron Sheik. So they proudly sit atop the shelf, the first 5. Going down the line, you see the collection of LJN figures. Now, I talked about this in a previous video. This is not the way I want to display these figures. They're crunched in there. You can't see half of them. Virgil's in the corner. We don't like that. But for space sake, these guys live crunched up in the corner. I've got some pops to go along with them. We've got some classic 80s wrestling buttons to put on that shelf. We got the Hulkster. we got the Hot Rod Rowdy Roddy Piper button. Coming down here, again, we've talked about this stuff. We got the championship belts. All three that were put out back in about 1987. The world title, the tag team title, the Intercontinental Championship. These don't fit on my waist anymore. They're snug. They're just a little snug. One of our loyal followers told me that this probably still works, that I should get some film and take a picture with it because a Hulk Hogan is superimposed in every single photo. So you and I could be hanging out down here.
That'd be so cool.
Posing, and Hulk Hogan's in the corner. Or Trashfield Cat could take a picture and Hulk Hogan would be in the corner. I got to get some film for this. My wife grabbed me this for Christmas this year, 2017. It is, I don't know, people have been telling me what it is. Like 35 millimeter or 126 millimeter. Or
I think it's 35.
Balls millimeter. I don't know. But I got to get some film for that. Stuff we've talked about in other episodes. We'll move these guys over. These are our giant 16-inch LJN style. Not style, they're from LJN. Our giant 16-inch posable figures. You got that Bendy Ring and cage back there. Oh, yeah. Here's what I mean by bend them. Look at that. Look at that bendiness. Imagine the wrestling holds you could get your opponent in by bending him that way. These are your bendies. I actually love these figures. These are just tiny little, almost exact replicas of their bigger counterparts. Just more flexibility, more bendiness. Here's a loose thumb wrestler. Why is it a thumb wrestler? Well, he's got a giant hole in his back. You put your fat thumb right in there, and yeah,
I loved it.
You have yourself a war. But you know what I did with them? I just wrestled. I didn't put my thumb in there.
How rude.
How rude.
That's cool.
This is something that I haven't really talked much about. In fact, there's another one that goes along with this. Oh, here he is. So, the company Winston, 1985, made, and when I was a kid, I didn't know these things existed. So when I was in when I was 7, 8 years old, I didn't know that they had wrestling erasers. If they had wrestling figure erasers and I knew about it, my life would have changed. I could not imagine bringing this to school with me and using it as an eraser. I would literally have gotten nothing done. But Winston jumped on this wrestling bandwagon and they made erasers. And these are legitimate figure erasers. So these are great looking figures, but they're erasers. And they're awesome. And they have a bunch. They have 6. Very, 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 very impossible to find. And very, very expensive.
From the cartoon.
From the Rock and Wrestling, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling cartoon. So these were basically,